Good evening, friends. Let's just take a moment. We're waiting for our host here. We're going to start our discussion in a moment. Just getting ready. Just give us a moment. Give us a moment. We're just going to start just now. Okay, Lord.
My general.
How are you, sir?
I'm very well, sir. How are you?
I'm good, my brother. Good.
I corner.
Yes, yes.
Let me just share.
Awesome.
Let me just share this live so abantu bami bazokwazi ukuthi bawubone.
Great stuff, man.
Okay. Okay, it's done. Okay, my good sir.
Yes, sir.
Ungizwa kahle from your side.
100%, Dosi, 100%. Let's go for it, my brother.
Ayi, number one. Bafowethu anginibingelele kubo bonke ababukela emakhaya bafowethu isikhathi it's 9 o'clock. Niyazi ukuthi Mondays are for NK1 shows, and NK1 shows, guys, we're always learning, and today is going to be amazing. Today is going to be a bomb. We got here bafowethu a man I admire a lot, a man I respect a lot. My mentor bafowethu all the way from Lady Smith, Pastor M Dlamini. Namhlanje bafowethu sizofunda ngento ebaluleke kakhulu, sizofunda especially inceku bafowethu if usendleleni yomshado noma uplana umshado noma uplana ukwakha umuzi noma ukuthatha le ndlela le yalabantu asebethanda ukukhula bafowethu. Namhlanje you really need to attend this show, and please guys, to everyone who's watching or tuning in, please guys, just share this live, guys. Ungabukeli wedwa, but you need to let your friends watch too. My general, before we start, can you please introduce yourself so everyone can know you, even from my side and your side?
Awesome. Thanks, Dosi, for the opportunity, my brother. I think it's such an honor to be here, and we hope that tonight you'll be able to make some contribution. We don't know it all. From a pastoral office point of view, I'm a designated marriage officer, which means I'm licensed to officiate marriages. And also we provide counseling services for marriage purposes, people who are going into marriage. And also we're gonna discuss some few things because I look at this in the context of, for example, if someone goes, they go into a marriage, obviously one of the things that they might look at is a shelter or a property, in the near future. So we're just going to look briefly at that tonight, and also the structures of the marriage that is available. We discussed that. And also, let's just make a disclaimer up front that this is not it's a sharing of facts platform. We are not providing an advice in this platform. So if we talk about some of the stuff here, don't take it as an advice. We're just giving you facts. Then you might need to go and consult your professional advisor to get a well-documented advice. And also, I've got a strong banking background. I'm a banker also by profession. So some of the information we're going to speak about, obviously, there's some element of authority in that. So we will understand the finances. So we're just going to give a little bit of light, but within the given scope of mortgages. And then we talk about the structures of the marriage.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much, my good sir. But first, what we are bringing you today, guys, is very expensive. Most of the people, they are paying for these sessions. They are paying for these facts, guys. As you heard, we are not being given our advice, we are giving our facts. These are the things you guys really need to know. These are the reality that we're gonna go across. So, bafethu, ngifuna ukuthi nilalelisise when this man is talking, because le ndlela lesisazodlula kuyona sonke because siyakhula, especially inceku nje bafethu. Mina ngijabula kakhulu ukuthi inceku mazibela ngoba inceku kumele zifunde bafethu. Kumele zifunde inceku. Ningadidiswa yimina bafethu nalama post engiwabhalayo. Egcineni indoda kumele isebenze. Indoda isebenze, ingafaki izandla emaphaketheni madoda nihambe noshumayela amase nibuya nizodla amavesi. Abafazi ngeke badla amavesi bafethu. So we are about to be delivered ama-facts. My good sir, mhlambe, what can be your introduction? What can be your introduction to our session today?
Okay, cool. I think the scope for today, we're going to available. There are two pots or two baskets of marriage. One is community. It's the first basket. We're going to talk about that. And we know that people have got different understanding of these structures out there. And then we want to talk about the out of community. So those are two baskets that we want to focus on. But with the out of community, it's further broken down into two. And the differentiator is the word accrual. And that word accrual has got a significant implication in terms of when it comes to financial calculations of the estate. And then obviously, we made mention of the fact that we want to speak about the bond and stuff like that. But also what I like to position up front is that if we fail to plan in anything that we are doing in life, we are planning to fail. That includes our marriages, it includes our finances. So it's very important that we take an objective view when it comes to marriage and our finances as well. Because if your finances are not properly structured, that can really bring a serious havoc, in your relationship and also in your marriage. And then obviously some of the things you realize that there's a scripture that says, where there's a lack of knowledge, people perish. So there are some of things that fall apart, not because they were due to fall apart or they were destined to fall apart, but simply because there was a lack of information. So anything that you starve information and knowledge is really bound to crack. So today we're just going to sort of like shed some light around these things, and we welcome the contribution as well from our viewers. We are here to learn as well. Let's discuss, let's debate these things. But I believe that with the better information, we stand a good chance to make better decisions. So I'm hoping that tonight all of us are going to be equipped. We're going to learn from our viewers, and we're going to discuss some stuff. And let's just go wild. Let's just go bold and and debate these things out there. So, and then just maybe to also add as an emphasis before we touch onto these structures, I think the knowledge is out there when it comes to in community, as to say what yours is mine, what mine is yours. That's the general kind of like explanation that I get when you come across people. But when the tire hits the road, we experience these things practically. Maybe people have been divorced, or maybe someone has passed on, and you also get to experience the pain that the families are going through because things were not properly structured. And amazingly, Brada Nxewu, let me just mention, the way a man is organized or somebody is organized, you won't be able to see it while they're still alive because they're able to cover for that. The only reality that you experience is when someone is gone, and then you see whether a person was organized or was disorganized. So it's very important that we take a serious look, on these things, and make sure that we put some serious action plans around these things. So we are looking at that tonight, and then also the fact that, for example, when we talk about these marriage regimes, so we don't get married.
Yeah. Mm.
Know that I've got nothing to lose. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, let's just understand that we don't get married to divorced, and these structures are not there just to sort of like give you a backup plan. But as long as it suits the people that are getting married, the two couples that are getting married, and it makes financial sense to them, so then it's worth a shot. And also, it doesn't talk to the fact about how much do I love, or that type of thing. For example, if I'm saying, or the parties agree to go out of community, it doesn't mean that they love less or they trust less. It's just about the way that they've chosen to organize themselves in line with their purpose and their plan for their marriage. So those are the things that I think I like to highlight up front when it comes to these marriage regimes. And also, I think we must be careful in nowadays as well, because there are people out there that are there to make business and to make money out of marriage. They abuse it. Yeah, for example, they look at the material things that you have, and then they do some calculations, and then maybe, for example, they'll favor certain structures so that they know that they are not there just for love, but they're there to make money. If things go, this thing fall apart, its actual fact is their intention that things should not work. So that if it doesn't work, they take their own share, they just vanish. So we've got those things. We should be careful about those opportunistic behaviors out there, and make sure that we safeguard ourselves. I think we are battling in terms of the network, Ndosi, a little bit.
Oh, okay. I just lost you for a few seconds.
I can hear you now, sir.
Okay, number one. Yeah, now I can get you.
Awesome. Yeah. I think you just gonna monitor some commentaries for us, Ndosi. If there are some commentaries, let's just take them. If there are some contributions, let's just take them as well and discuss them. But I think let's venture into the first basket of the marriage in community of property.
Yeah.
And I like, without insulting anybody's intelligence, I like us just to go through over it, just a few things on that. We discuss it, and then we can take it from there. Later on, we look at the financial implications of that.
Yeah.
So this marriage says, when you get married, you bring all your assets, all your liabilities together to form a joint estate or community estate. For example, let's make an example. If your partner has got a 1 million rand debt or liability, and he gets married to you, immediately you enter into that marriage already, you've got a debt of 500,000. It's not as to say you own 100% of what they've got, but you own a 50% share of what your spouse is bringing into a marriage. good and bad. So in both liabilities and also the assets. Vice versa, if you are married to someone who's a millionaire, I'm just using these extravagant figures. If you are married to someone who's a millionaire, then you are 50% millionaire, because you share both the assets and the liabilities, 50% share of that. In other words, when you get married into this marriage of communal property, so you own a 50% share of everything, assets and liabilities. So that's the first thing that I think I'd like us to clarify and make note of. So there are two major events that can really happen in a marriage. One is a divorce, and God forbid, and the other one is the death of one spouse. So those are two major events that can really happen in a marriage. So then by virtue of those two, the marriage could be terminated. Then it goes into an estate, and then an executor is appointed to administer the estate, but is only administering the 50% share of the deceased. So if you are divorced, everybody takes like 50% to go your separate ways. So it's very important to take note of that. So our daily financial decisions that we take in this process of our marriage relationships, they build up into those last phases, either on divorce or on death, whether the administration of the estate will be complicated or will be simplified. So it's very crucial to make sure that when we are married in this kind of marriage, you understand the implication thereof. Let's make an example. Some of us who grew up, in other wife. I'm making an example. And you bring a new car. You bring a new car and it's financed by the bank. So in this type of marriage, you cannot do that, because if you go and take, for example, a Maserati or whatever, maybe a 2 million rand car that is financed by a bank, that's a liability. You just surprised your spouse with a 1 million rand of debt.
Because you're together in this.
You're together in this. So you can't just come home and say, honey, look, I brought a new car, so a surprise and all of that. You've just surprised your spouse with a debt. And you brought serious trouble now into your relationship. So with the structure of the marriage, I think transparency is key, because there are things that you cannot do individually. You cannot wake up in the morning and say, I've decided to sell this asset. You cannot alienate, you cannot sell, you cannot dispose an asset without having agreed with your partner. And at the same time, you cannot go extravagant and take debts without having agreed with your partner in this kind of marriage. Let's look at the other example. Let's look at the other example now. Let's take an arrangement whereby the partners, they agree that, okay, maybe the wife will stay at home, raise children, while the dad is going and making some dollars and all of that. So do you think that being married, for example, take out of community, do you think that structure will be fair to someone who's a stay-at-home parent, busy making sure that it's homemaking, it's building the house, while the other partner is making money and dollars bringing them home, and then they decide to go out of community, and then when it comes to either a divorce or death, one spouse is left with nothing, and yet he was being an enabler for another spouse to go and make money. So the partners can come to an agreement, as you say, for example, I stay at home, I raise kids, and I'm just taking that as an example. I raise kids, and then you go and work, you bring money, we share 50% of what we're making. So everybody benefits out of that structure. Although you were staying at home and doing the house chores, making sure that you're building your house and all of those things, you are still contributing in the marriage because you are enabling your spouse to go and make dollars. And then you own a 50% share on those dollars that your spouse has made. Yeah.
Now, so maybe
yeah.
in case of in case of that, my general, on community, in community of property. So what happened is, if I die, all my belongings will go to my wife and my kids.
If you die, which means now, if in case of death, only 50% of your share will form part of the deceased estate, and then will be administered by the executor, someone who's appointed by the court to handle your affairs. And now, in terms of your estate distribution, that is done in line with the will. So it is very important. Maybe we'll talk about it some other time. It's very important that you have a will in place, because if you die without a will, they say you die intestate. So now your wealth will be distributed according to who is closest to you. And then eventually your wealth might end up going to people that you did not want them to benefit out of the estate, because you didn't put a simple document in place, which is a will. But in case of the two parties married in common of property and one spouse died, so we are dissolving one 50% share of the estate. So we group them together, and then we allocate 50% of that, both asset and liabilities, and then
Okay, that was very clear. Thank you very much, my general. I think you can carry on. Yeah.
listed. So that financial record might end up coming back to haunt you guys as a couple, because everything that you do, you do it together, you do it jointly when it comes to our finances. So if one party is insolvent, or maybe you decide to go into a business venture and you become directors, so you might find that you've got one director who is insolvent, who is delinquent, and then you want to go and apply for funding, or to find that your application is being declined because one of the directors, is not in good shape when it comes to finances. So it's very important to understand that whatever financial decision that you take, either individually or as a couple, they affect you as holistically as a couple. They affect the community of the estate.
Yo. I think we need to be very careful on that one, because I think it's the second time I'm hearing of that. If you take a loan and then you don't pay, that don't affect you when a payer, but it also affects your partner in a marriage, and also people you do business with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we've done a little bit of justice around that one.
Yeah.
And then the second, let's discuss the second basket now. The second basket is the out of community. And we're saying out of community has got two legs. It's got two legs. The first leg is out of community with accrual. Out of community with accrual. Then the second leg is out of community without accrual. So what does accrual mean? Accrual means that when you get married, you've built your asset up to a point of marriage, or you have taken liabilities up to a point of marriage. That is yours individually. Then what you build together in the marriage, then assets, and then maybe your partner comes with a million rand of their liabilities. So that liability is your own, it's your baby. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect your partner. But now, at the point of marriage, now out of community, let me just take a step back further. So before you go and enter into a marriage, you need to draft what is called antenuptial contract, ANC, antenuptial contract. You go to a lawyer, a notary, you draft that agreement in terms of you put all the clauses you want to mention to form part of your marriage, and then that contract will be registered at the deeds office. Then now you can go and get married and all of that. Then we are married out of community of property. If that contract has not been drafted upfront prior to you getting married, then automatically you are married in community of property. You can't draft antenuptial contract after you're married. Are you getting that?
Yeah.
So I think that the first thing that is worth mentioning here, if you want to marry out of community, it means both of you must go and see a lawyer who will help you to draft the contract. In that contract, you can put any clause as long as that clause is lawful, is allowed. You can put it there. And then it gets submitted to a deeds office, it's registered there, then you can get married. Then you are married out of community. But then now, let's come to that accrual clause. The accrual now says what we have built together in this marriage, we share on that. So how do we share on that? At the beginning of the marriage, each party needs to disclose the assets. For example, if I'm bringing 100,000 worth of investment, I disclose that I've got 100 worth of assets, 100,000 worth of assets. I disclose that. You are bringing, for example, 50,000 worth of assets. You disclose that in the contract. So those are the commencement values at the beginning of the marriage. Okay. Important to note that you cannot disclose a value which is below zero. You cannot disclose your liabilities that, okay, I'm starting on a minus 200,000 in this marriage. Nobody starts at a minus. You're starting on a zero and something. All right.
Yeah.
Then now, your marriage life continues. You work, you build wealth together. And then at the dissolution of the marriage, either by divorce or by death, then we recalculate those values. Those values, those beginning values at the beginning of the marriage will be recalculated using the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, to restate them at the current prices. Then you take into account how much is your closing book, your balance. For example, if I started in my marriage with 100,000, which I disclosed in the contract, okay, and then when at the dissolution of the marriage, if my net worth now is 500,000, it means now while I'm in the marriage, I've accumulated 400,000. You get what I'm saying? Let's say now the other spouse has accumulated 300,000. So we've got one partner who have accumulated 400,000, and then we've got a partner who has accumulated 300,000. So the partner with the lower residual, which is your asset minus your liabilities, with the lower residual, will have a claim on a partner who has accumulated more, so that we share equally. I hope it's clear.
For now, it's clear. Everything is clear, my good sir. Everything is clear.
All right. Okay. All right. Then the last bit of it. is I think, let me just make mention of the fact that this accrual system is there to protect, like we said, is there to protect a stay-at-home spouse who is supporting other spouse while they're working. Normally, you find that it's the moms who stay at home, you know, so that they don't lose out. They don't lose out when the marriage dissolves. So hence you've got this accrual component, which allows a partner with a lower residual to claim from a higher residual. So it's there to protect each other. Then the last bit of it is your out of community without accrual.
Yeah.
There, it's straightforward. What you brought into the marriage is yours, and what you build in your marriage is yours. Simple as that. Yours is yours, mine is mine. Finish and clap.
Whether we divorce, whether you die, yours is yours, mine is mine.
Mine is mine, yes. So when you die, the executor of the estate will administer only your portion of the deceased spouse. But I want us to quickly look briefly at a few things now here. Okay, under this marriage, you can surprise yourself with any kind of either debt or whatever asset or whatever gift that you want. You can come home and say, honey, look, I brought a new Ferrari or whatever. It's your debt, it's your baby, it's yours. If you go bankrupt at your own risk.
Umayibonela la.
Yeah, ebonela la. But yeah, now I want to touch on a few things here, Ndosi. That one, you cannot do these questions that I'm going to pose now. One cannot answer on his own without getting a professional help on these things, because now in any given estate, at any given point in time, mostly it's either you're going to have a surplus or a shortfall in your estate.
Yeah.
Which means now, if you combine your asset and your liability, stuff like that, that must be paid out in case of death or divorce, things that must be paid out. It's either you've got a surplus or you've got a shortfall. So that calculation requires professional help. You need to engage professional assistance in those things. That's number one. And also, there are other costs that normally we don't take note of as a married couple. Things like executor's fee. You know, when one spouse is dead and the court appoints somebody to administer the estate, there is a fee that is paid, out of that. Normally, we don't cater for those things. There are things like capital gains tax. For example, if some asset must be disposed of, and then a gain has been made, you need to pay over to SARS. As you know, nobody can owe SARS. You can't owe SARS. That man comes after his money, whether you're alive or whether you're dead. And then there are things like estate duty. Those things is another form of tax. Those things need to be taken care of within your estate to make sure that your estate is balanced. And also another thing is the liquidity component of it. How liquid is your asset? For example, if I've got 20 cows at home, and then maybe in the language of my background, somebody can say, "Hey, Dlamini, ucebile man, is very rich."
Yeah.
But umbuzo uti, how quickly can you convert those assets into cash? So if I drop dead today, and I've got 100 cows, can my family at any given point in time sell one cow to go and buy bread and groceries? How quickly will they be able to turn those assets into cash? So liquidity component needs to be taken into account when we look at the estate of the married couple. And these calculations can be done now and again as you go and see your financial advisor or whoever, either once a year, depending on the frequency that you do that. And some of us, we go wild and take insurances and all of that. In some point, we only find out we're over-insured or we're under-insured. Those things, you work it out with your advisor as well. So these are the things that you need to take into account, in the marriage process. And then obviously the provision for your dependents is another thing that one needs to consider. All of these, you need a professional help. So when we go through the marriage counseling, we look at these structures, we discuss the financial component. Depending on where the couples are, we can go deeper. Today, we've just done a high-level overview. Things like money management, all of those are the things that you as a couple need to be intentional when it comes to your finances, especially in your marriage, and also understand the implications of these things. I'd like to pause there and take any comment or any question, if any.
My general mentioning of a financial advisor, especially on our side as like Black people, we always ask ourselves, from what amount of money do we have in our account should we start having a financial advisor? Because these things are the things that we are not exposed kuzona. But isn't just sitasa like as if it's about rich, isn't just sitasa like as if it's for like white people. So it's like we always ask ourselves, from what amount do we like have to start considering having a financial advisor?
If you're really serious about building wealth for yourself, you need someone. I take a financial advisor as someone who's there to guide you and to give you an objective view about your finances. Let me just make an example. Take myself, for example. I realize that I'm not being honest when it comes to my own finances. So I need an independent, objective voice that will tell me that the truth and the facts I don't want to hear. Someone who can sit down with and say, hey, Brada Nxewu, look, man, you're going into a serious trouble here. You're going to be over indebted. Your assets are less than your liabilities, things like that. You don't have to have millions to have a financial advisor. Just like you go to a bank, you don't need to have millions. But when you begin that journey together, it's somebody who's really helping you in that journey of building wealth, and also assist you in terms of getting rid of unnecessary debt.
Wow. I think that's a profound teaching, because really and truly, my general, these are the things that we can always handle our own things, yet we always fall into our debts.
Yes. Then lastly, I want us to touch, I'm gonna give a very summarized view of let's take someone who's buying a house for the first time. Maybe some people will get married having properties already, things like that, which is good. As long as you know how to structure an estate, that's okay. But let's just take a case of somebody who is buying a house for the first time. That is crucial. That is crucial. And I must say, the earlier the better. When it comes to property, the earlier the better. My brother, if we can play a food stock fair, why can't we play a property stock fair where we help each other buy properties? We can later on we can look at things in terms of how do you freeze the estate by establishing a trust, a testamentary trust or living trust. That's a separate discussion. But I'm saying, especially to us, the Africans, we like food stock fair. If you can play that and get so much groceries at the end of the year that you just eat as you please, and then before the kids go to school is finished, why can't you play a property stock fair, help each other to buy land, to buy properties, to build the wealth for ourselves? So, and also the second point I'd like to mention here, I think in my view, property is the cheapest buy. Property is the cheapest buy compared to other form of debts and credits that we consume. Now, when it comes to credit, you've got your secured debt. Secured means there is a collateral. For example, if you don't pay, I can come and take the property. If you don't pay, I can come and take a car and repossess it. That is a secured debt. Your personal loan, if I already paid it out to you and you chowed it, there's nothing that I can come and take back. So it's an unsecured debt. So that debt tends to be much higher in terms of the costing. So when you consume debt, it's crucial that First and foremost, fall into a quicksand of debt. That's the first and the foremost rule that maybe we can put out there. If we can avoid debt, that's good. Try by all means to avoid it. But not all of us have got millions in their pocket to go and buy a property easy like that. So we now and again we'll go and take a mortgage, take a bond, and then you pay the bank over a certain period. And remember, the longer the term, the more it costs you. The more it costs you in terms of your wealth. So again, property, I'm saying to all of us here, the quicker the better, because of price inflation. Prices always go up when it comes to property. Prices always go up. And also the second thing that one might need to look at is in terms of where do you buy. You might have heard this word, location. Where do you buy? Because where you buy is also another component of your investment.
Yeah.
You can lose your total investment because you just bought in the wrong place. The values are not appreciating. But instead they go down. But if you buy in a good space, you are investing in yourself. So principle number one, thou shalt not fall into a quicksand of debt. But if you happen to fall into a quicksand of debt, it must be a good debt. If there is anything that is called a good debt, it must be a good debt.
Yeah.
So a good debt, in my view, I'll explain it as follows. A good debt, in my view, will be anything that is able to wash its own face. That's number one. If it's a good debt, it must be able to wash its own face. I'm going to make an example just now. While it's washing its own face, at the same time, it must appreciate in value.
Yeah.
I'm
with you.
I'm saying if there is anything called a good debt, if there's anything like that, it must have these two characters. Number one, it must be able to wash its own face.
Yeah.
In other words, it must be able to pay itself out. You rent it out, and the rental that you get is 3,000 rand. I'm making an example. So out of this 3,000 rand, you can pay a bond installment of 2,000 rand. Are you hearing me? And then maybe out of 1,000 that is left, you pay levies and taxes. So in that case, that kind of debt is washing its own face. At the same time, yes.
Yo,
I'll call that a good debt. I'll call that a good debt. So again, when it comes to a debt component, consumption point of view, anything that can wait, if you can live without it, please don't use debt. If you can live without it, and if it can wait, you are safe. Don't consume debt, because debt comes at a cost, and the cost of debt erodes. It floods away your wealth and your riches. And then the other point of debt I want to highlight, I call this one an ICU debt. An ICU debt, whereby I borrow from Nxewu to pay Dlamini. There's an ICU debt. You are in ICU. You need serious help. You need to be revived. Your pulse is about to really go out at any point in time. So rule number one, thou shalt not fall into a quicksand of debt. Rule number two, remember rule number one. Then again, I think I've explained this type of debts, the secured and unsecured. So a mortgage bond is a secured debt and is cheaper than unsecured debt. Against this bonel, we are in one of the furniture shops, we take the furniture, but charge the interest rate 27%.
Yeah.
In this bonel, right? Bond, you pay prime minus prime plus. Currently, prime is around 7%. Let's say you pay prime plus 2. So it means now your interest rate is 9%. Now compare now. Let's say now within this bond structure, you can able to structure what is called a flexi reserve, which means now and again, if we're in need of cash, maybe we need to pay school fees, you can go and have access to that.
Okay.
So now access at a cost of 9% versus access at a cost of 27%. You work out the sums. You work out the sums. You get what I'm saying? So if I've got money, I'm making an example, but now with this one, tread carefully, with caution. If I've got enough money, I can take money out of my bond, which costs me less, and go and buy myself maybe a car. But I need to make sure that I pay that car within 5 years at a cheaper cost. Because if I pay it within the term of the bond, you might have a case whereby you're paying your car over 20 years. Now, with these things, you need to tread carefully and open your eyes and make sure that you're getting a proper guidance. Then, this is a crucial point. When you're buying a house, we've got the estate agents commission fees. Those commissions are very expensive. They are very expensive. Those commissions, they are very expensive. Now, the system and technology has developed. You are able to cut off the middleman. You can go directly. Some banks, they've got apps where you can go into the app and choose the property you want. It sends you a deed of sale. You sign, you agree, you go and inspect, you apply for finance. So you're cutting immediately the middleman, the commission that would have gone to an estate agency at your own expense. Right. Then, if a first-time home buyer, some banks they offer the training. You need to take advantage of the training because it equips you in terms. I lost you quite a bit there. But if your income. Yes. Yeah. If your income is between combined is between 3,501 rand and 22,000 rand, you can apply for a government subsidy if you're buying a house for the first time. So there's a scale there. I will share the document. You can apply for a government subsidy.
Okay.
So that subsidy it gives you a good mileage on your bond. It gives you a good mileage on your bond cost. So earning between a 3.5 and a 22,000. If you earn above 22,000, then you're earning a lot. FLIST is called finance-linked individual subsidy. Finance-linked individual subsidy. Government is offering that. We might need to take advantage of that. And then you can also make use of amortization tables where you put in your bond amount. You put in a bond amount over a certain period and interest rate. It gives you exactly in terms of over 20 years how much you're going to pay in interest.
Yeah.
And also on a monthly basis, it gives you a breakdown in terms of the principal debt that you are settling and the component of interest that you are paying in that bond installment. And also it gives you a quick overview if, for example, what happened, or a what if scenario. If I put in extra 20 grand, what does that do to my interest rate and to my overall bond and the term? You take advantage of that. And then another one that you can look at is either you do it yourself, you buy land, you build on your own, but there I think you're losing out on all this specialized expertise. For example, if you are using a bank, the bank will go and do valuation. The bank won't finance anything that is not of value, that is not financeable. So you kind of like secured in that space that the bank will go and do evaluation because that is the bank collateral.
Yeah.
So if you fail to pay, the bank will need to take that asset and resell it. So there's going to be value there. And also the valuer is also able to give you a good sense in terms of the valuation price. For example, if I make an example, if a bank will go like 100% bond finance, which means that agreed price is more aligned in terms of of what the seller is asking for. Because if the bank is giving a 100% offer, it means if they were to repossess that property, they are most likely to sell for the same price and get their own money.
Their own money. Oh yeah.
So at least you got a little bit of backup of professional advice and assistance. When you're doing it through an institution, especially when you're buying for the first time. But if you're doing it yourself, it's also cheaper because you are saving costs on bonds, stuff like that, and interest rate. But you are taking all of risk upon yourself. Now, this is the last point I want to mention, and then we can take commentaries and questions before we wrap up.
Yeah.
You can also use what is called a reversed mortgage, which means now your bond, if it's fully paid up and you didn't cancel it, or let's say, for example, cancel it, doesn't matter. But if you bought in the right space, in an environment that is financeable by the banks, and your property is bond free, is paid up, and then maybe you're going on pension, you are able to use that as a reversed mortgage, which means now you can rebond it to the bank, and then the bank will pay you installments. For example, if the bank pays you, let's say 8,000 rand. I'm making an example. Let's say 10 grand for argument's sake, 10 grand. So you're starting from zero.
Yeah.
And then the outstanding balance builds up as you draw from your bond. It goes up, and then the interest obviously is gonna go up according to what is outstanding on the bond. But this one is kind of like a complicated type of investment. It needs professional help on that one. But again, that's a good part of it, that if you got a property and you bought, in the right place and it's paid up and all of that, later on when you want to retire, whatever, you can always use that as a reverse mortgage, draw money out of that to make a living out of it, or to supplement your pension and your living expenses. I think we've said quite a mouthful around this space, but again, we just shared facts here. This is not an advice. If you need more, go and visit your bank, go get financial assistance to the professionals. We're just sharing facts at a very high level.
My legend, I think there's a question here from Untobego. Tobego is asking, how can one know which is the best location to invest a property in? Did you get the question? Guys, okay. Tobego, please be patient. Be patient, Tobego. Okay, I get you now.
Awesome. You look at the amenities around the property, for example, where there are some schools, property, shopping center, malls, hospitals, all these things that we need. These days you like to do things maybe in a form of a one-stop shop, whatever. You go to shops, you go to hospital, clinics, whatever, the school. You want everything to be around us. Look at the amenities, look at the development, and also as you drive around the neighborhood, you clearly see the houses that are going up.
Yeah.
In terms of maintenance and all of that, crime rates, those things. where there's a noise and all of that. For example, if there is a flat that is by the taxi rank, you've got a noise issue. I'm just giving an example. You've got a noise issue. Maybe your property is around the train track. You're always getting these noises and all of those things.
Yeah.
You look at those things. But there are quite a number of things that you can look at. Development, like I said, amenities. Do your research. Do your research. Do price comparison, because at the same time you want to get the price for money. I think I forgot to mention a very important point here. If you can buy off plan, please do so.
Yeah.
What does it mean to buy off plan? It means there is a development that is going up. The developer comes and sells the units off plan. They are not built up yet.
Yeah.
You apply. You like it's a three-bedroom apartment or whatever. You apply for it on paper. It's there. You can see the pictures and everything. Coming soon, type of thing. You sign for everything here, and then they start building. As they start building, remember the effect of inflation, because the price goes up. The price goes up. By the time they finish building, your property will be worth more than what you signed for. Which means now, if you want to sell it at a profit, you can make an immediate profit.
Okay.
I hope I'm making sense here.
You are making very good sense. I'm making very good sense.
Okay, awesome. I hope Dobel is covered.
Yeah, but from my side, I think you are making a very good sense. There's something that you mentioned, say, about that was very interesting, because I remember the very first time I fell in love with property. It was when I was reading a book from I think it was Robert Kiyosaki. I forgot the term that he was talking about, the word. But when you are explaining about the good debt or positive debt, talking about something, taking a loan of something that can wash its own face. I forgot the real term, the original term of that. But I remember the first time I fell in love with property, because I knew that I wanted to be a businessman, but I didn't know what to do, what to start. But then when I read that book, example, if you want to start a business but you got no money, you go to the bank, tata a million, and then you go buy a flat, renovate your flat, make your flat look good, try to bring up the value of the flat, and then leli flat lizo ikhokhela lona. Maybe
that is called
sorry?
That is called if you buy and resell, it's called property flipping.
Yeah.
Property flipping. You are flipping, you are buying, renovating to sell, to resell. But again, there you should tread carefully. For example, we had a COVID outbreak. Nobody planned for the COVID. Nobody knew that COVID was coming. Tenants were not paying rental, things like that. Everybody was in a tough corner. So how do you survive in those things? You need to also plan for those things. So if you go into the US and you hear about some areas where there was a property market crash, where people were flipping a lot, and then they couldn't, when the property market crashed, they couldn't pay the properties. So the flipping is a good exercise, but again, property is a game of patience. It's a game of patience. Now I think we're venturing more into a property investment. Actually, we're addressing the issue of someone here who wants to buy for the first time. They want to get a shelter. But we're saying overall it's good, because as you grow and you build more wealth, you can always upgrade and maybe move on and all of that and resell.
Yeah.
And then when you resell, it doesn't matter how much is outstanding on the bond account, because you pay the bond account, you make your own proceed, you make your own profit.
Wonderful, awesome.
And if you've got good buddies, that you trust the most, you can play a property stokvel. Buy a property.
I like that one. I like that idea that if you are able to play itokfela, then what can stop us on playing itokfela ama properties, of which this can make us rich?
I think let me make a point here, Nxewu. Let me make a point here, my brother.
Yeah.
The good thing about the property You cannot wake up in the morning and get told that, you know what, this pyramid scheme crashed. Or somebody woke up and ran away with all the monies.
With all the
Your
money,
property is
yes.
there. Yeah, your property is there. Whether someone paid or not, you can always go and check your property.
Exactly. That's a good point about properties. So I could say today, today's session was very educational. It was very productive, especially for people who are planning to get married, because as Africans, we take these things very lightly. To get married, you just take it very lightly, as if it's like the Kumas toes. And now, today, like today's session is like an eye opener. When I get married, I can't just but I have to plan. I have to plan all these things like you have just unpacked for us, because even on these regimes you just explained to us in community of property, we only knew the only information that we had in community of property, it's where and then out community of property. But now we didn't know there is with accrual and without accrual. All these things we didn't know. Besides just out community of property without accrual, but we didn't know there's a accrual word that's been added, all these things. But today, it's been like a educational session. From my side, I don't know the guys who are watching, but from my side, guys, and I like the point when we do these things, it's not about there's nothing personal. Isn't it? It's a plan.
It's a plan for it's not about, it's not a barometer of love. It's a plan. It's the way we choose to organize ourselves.
Exactly.
For various reasons.
Exactly. I like the way we being a call, because you know why? As cutting some mind. Tina, we are like just because it's same time when, and we just all do izinto and then we don't reason. But now you are giving us a chance to reason. But we must always like consider the reality. Even if I'm a Christian, yes, I'm a Christian, but I must also consider reality. So I like the way like everyone who is listening, may ask, it's okay, if I want to get married, now I have to consider these things. I need to be trained. When I take this step, I want to make sure it's okay, I am ready, and this is how I'm going to do things. Because some of the time, they come with nothing, and then they want to say, okay, I want to marry in community of property. But I'm not saying it's wrong.
But again, let's balance it out, Brada Nxewu. We've got gentlemen out there. We've got gentlemen out there who are doing nothing. They're sitting at home. They want to read a newspaper, and then they say that I want to marry to a professional who's going to work for me and do all of those things. We get married in communal property, and then when this thing fails, they take their own share. I think I once read a story. About this guy who got married in community with a business lady, an entrepreneur. The lady came with a business into the marriage, and this guy was renting a flat in some nice suburban areas in Joburg, and driving a good car, but the car was financed by the bank, which means essentially it's not his car. The flat is not his because he's renting it. And then when they divorced, he got a 50% share of the business. And then the lady couldn't get anything out of this because these things didn't belong to the guy. So we also got those guys who have seen money-making schemes out of marriage because they want to enrich themselves. So let's balance it out. So if you put certain things or requirements out there, the question is, what are you bringing as well? Let's just balance it out. We've got both ladies and the gentlemen who fall in that category. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you for also like bringing clarity on that one, my general. Now, Tami Dlamini, hi guys. Can you allude more on which one is more wise, to buy land and you build your own, than to buy a house already built on in suburbs? Ubuza Utami Dlamini.
Yeah. So it depends. If an already built property has changed many hands, already they've already sort of like suck out the margin out of the property. When I was saying maximum already. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Max, yeah, because it has changed many hands. And these things, by the way, you can go to Indeed. You can go to Indeed and check the property, how many times it has changed hands and at what price. But the price you're gonna get there is the bond or registered amount. Bond registered amount, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the actual price. For example, I can buy a property for 300,000 and then apply for a 500,000 bond with the bank, which means now I've got an equity to play with of 200,000. So the registered amount at the deeds office doesn't necessarily mean that that's a selling price, but it gives you a nice indication in terms of how many times that property has changed hands. So if you come last at the end, it's like someone who's coming into this pyramid scheme when it's about to crash or the plane is about to land. All right, that's number one. But if you're buying a new development, you're standing a good chance to cash out at a later stage. Okay.
Yeah.
Then buying land is good, but remember now, as you buy land in a suburb area, you are still paying levies and taxes on that land, and it can't give you money at the moment because there's nothing. But you are paying the same cost like somebody who's already got a house in the suburb. So if you buy to build, then buy and build. If the levies are not too heavy, fine, I will buy land as much as possible, because land appreciates in value.
Yeah.
I've got many examples, personal examples that talks to that. I know land appreciates in value. It's a good investment. It's a good property. But again, where do you buy? And another thing that is important that we need to mention: if you want to build yourself, you are carrying all these costs. Let's say, for example, you get someone who claims to be a professional builder, and then they show you the qualifications and all of those things, only to build the stuff that you are not looking for. So you carry all that cost. Because remember now, let's say now, okay, in the bank, there's something called a building loan. The building loan, the bank gives you a loan to build. Okay. So the bank will monitor the phases of the building process. For example, at the foundation phase, the bank will come and inspect. And you know, if the work is according to the plan, then they'll make progress payment to the builder. Window frame, roof face, the bank will always gonna be there. So you've got a professional backup. You got a professional backup, somebody who's backing you up to make sure that this thing is built according to plan.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But building, it will always come cheaper. But again, doing it yourself, you know, without taking a bond, it will always come cheaper compared to a bond. But just make sure that you have covered all the corners to protect yourself from the ruthless builders and the other guys who might, you know, take advantage of you.
Yeah. My good sir, it was a very productive session. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Even I think Tammy is satisfied because we say thanks, Pastor, covered. Thank you very much. Also, Ntokozo Malembe, loving this topic, Pastor M Dlamini. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Indeed, it was a very interesting topic, very powerful.
Awesome.
Yeah, Angazi Mklabe, my general, what can you say to us, especially to us? Esingakoshadi but esikuyona le ndlela le yokushada nathi sesifuna ukushada kodwa like from what we have learned today, we feel like no, we are not ready. We still need to work. So what can be your message, your closing message to us, especially in youth, esabheke emshadweni?
Yo, hey, maybe just to sum it up.
Yeah. 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 Yo. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Decisions. Yes.
With information, ask questions, get professional help. It's cheaper to get professional help before you get yourself into anything. Just get.
Yo. Mm. Exactly.
This journey of learning is ongoing, my brother. It's ongoing. On the day you stop learning, you stop searching for information. It's the day that you die.
Hey.
I think it's John Maxwell. It's John Maxwell who said,
Yeah.
keep learning to keep leading. To keep
Yeah.
leading in this life,
Mm.
you have to keep learning, and things evolve. Things
Mm.
change.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Associate yourself with people who have. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, my good sir. Yo, it was a powerful meeting. So I can see some of the people has lost sound, but guys, there will be a backup because I can hear Pastor Dlamini from my side. There will be a backup because the live will also be on YouTube. So if ungayizwanga kahle, there will be a backup. You guys can also watch this on YouTube. Bafowethu, please, as Pastor Dlamini show we must always research, buy books, guys. I know you guys, they don't believe in what we call personal development, where you feed your brain, where you research, where you learn about these things. As much as Buffett, we study about the word of God, it is very good, but we need to consider develop ourselves because siphila emhlabeni odinga ukuthi ube ne-information. So what the information that we had today was very, very fruitful. It was educational, Buffett. So these are the things that we really need. Ngoba esho nje you need to associate yourself with people who have the same vision as yours. If you are an eagle, you must stop flying with them. Yes, my sir. No, you can carry on, sir. I think we're losing each other, Bafethu, because of network. Thanks, guys. The topic is profound. Thank you very much, Sibali Kulu, Tami. Thank you very much, Dogozo. Also, now you are. We're losing it. Network problems, sir. Yeah.
Beginning one step at a time, and you just keep focused, keep on the work, and yeah.
Thank you very much. We will keep pushing. We will keep pushing. Thank you very much, my good sir. It's a privilege and an honor to have you.
Pleasure. Thank you.